Hello everybody, welcome to the Infoverse today. I'm the Infomancer speaking and I'm happy to have you here in the Infinite Realm. Today I'm going to be making a video which, to be honest, I never thought I'd be doing. I'm going to be contradicting one of my favorite YouTubers. Just recently I was watching a video about how language messes up history, or the evolution of language messes up history, which was uploaded by Shadiversity. He's one of my favorite YouTubers. I really like Shad's channel. And if you haven't seen the video I'm talking about, you should go check it out, because this will have more meaning if you have seen that. And chances are you have, because he's a much bigger YouTuber than me. But that's the case. And I'm going to be contradicting him despite the fact that he is one of my favorite YouTubers and I really enjoy his content. This video that he made, he talked about several things that have had their meanings changed. The one that really stood out was broadsword. At least the one that really stood out to me was broadsword. Traditionally, a broadsword was a basket-hilted sword. And maybe he was talking about a specific one. I can't remember what kind, but it was a long title. Scottish, basket-hilted, whatever. It doesn't matter. He was talking about the broadsword and how most people nowadays picture an arming sword when you talk about a broadsword. And that originally he thought that was incorrect to refer to an arming sword as a broadsword. However, he has since changed his mind because it doesn't convey any misinformation. An arming sword is indeed broader than other swords. It is indeed a sword, and when you refer to a broadsword, because of the way that people understand the term now, 90% of people are going to picture an arming sword. So if you're talking to them about a broadsword and you're actually referring to the basket-hilted sword, something's going to be lost in translation there, and there's going to be some confusion because people nowadays do not understand that that is a broadsword and that an arming sword is something different. And I completely agreed with this. Actually, as he was saying this, I went down to the comments and I typed in excellent food for thought, or good food for thought or something, which made me feel really stupid when I reached the end of the video and he said, I hope this was good food for thought. It made me feel like I was just stealing his words, even though I had already written that before I heard them. But getting past that, I really enjoyed his content, and it really was good food for thought, and it did get me thinking. And this is where the contradiction comes in. I completely agree with the broadsword becoming a name for the arming sword, since that's what people understand it to be. However, he went on to explain that he did not agree with terms like Viking, because it does convey misinformation. A Viking was a Scandinavian person who went on a Viking, who went on a raid, and therefore they were a raider. And that's what a Viking was. If you were a Scandinavian person that did not participate in these Vikings, in these raids, you therefore were not a Viking. And I understand that completely. However, if you had an arming sword back in the day, you did not have a broadsword. The same amount of misinformation is presented here, and Shad felt that it was not the same amount of misinformation, that there was quite a bit more misinformation with calling the Scandinavian people of old Vikings, and so he didn't want to call them that, and he thinks that it's wrong. However, again, I look at the same argument he just made. Today's understanding of the word is so ingrained on a Viking as the Scandinavian people that it doesn't make sense to try and change that. Even if you want to educate people about what a Viking really was, if you want to educate them that a Viking is a Scandinavian person who went on a raid and attacked other people, that made them a Viking, and other Scandinavian people were not Vikings, it's okay to educate them on that. But unless you plan on thoroughly educating every single person in the world, it is pointless to try and say that Viking should not be used as a term for the Scandinavian people. Now, if you would like to have a distinction between the Scandinavian people of old and actual Vikings, well, it's simple. A Viking is a raider. Just call them Viking raiders. I know that is redundant, but that is only redundant in the old times when Viking meant raider. Nowadays, Viking is used to refer to the Scandinavian people. So therefore, if you have a Viking raider, you have a Scandinavian raider. And I feel that that conveys the proper amount of information. Yes, it's redundant, but it doesn't convey any inaccuracies, really. If you're a Viking raider, well, Vikings were Scandinavian people that went on raids. A raider is a raider. It's, again, redundant, but no misinformation there, except for the fact that Viking was not traditionally used to refer to all Scandinavian people. But broadsword was not traditionally used to refer to an arming sword. So I feel there's the same amount of misinformation there, and I agreed with him that the broadsword should become the name of the arming sword, and we shouldn't be so stuck on the correct term. And following that logic, I feel that it only makes sense to also adapt Viking. There's not a great deal of misinformation in it. If you think of a Viking, you think of Scandinavian people. And yes, we tend to think of them as a largely warrior society. Well, they did have lots of warriors. It's okay to think of it like that. That's not really wrong. And we don't think of a Viking kid, we don't think the Viking kid went out and attacked people. We think the Viking kid is somebody of Viking descent. Well, that's very possible. His father, his forefathers, whatever, they could have been Vikings. And nowadays it is just so ingrained that Viking is the Scandinavian people that I don't think that there's any problem with using the term in that way. As far as I'm concerned, the Vikings are the Scandinavian people, and if you want to get more in depth on what Viking traditionally refers to, you simply refer to them as Viking raiders, because that's what they are. They were Viking raiders. And that's just my own personal opinion. As I said, Shad came to a different conclusion. He felt there was too much misinformation spread with the term Viking used that way. Like I said, I don't feel that it spreads any more misinformation than the use of the word broadsword. And you have some that spread awful misinformation. For example, the word I just used, awful. Back in the day, and Shad pointed this out too, awful meant full of awe. And now it means the exact opposite. There's a lot of misinformation there, but people don't argue that because it is so ingrained in society's mind and language that awful means bad. And we've come across the same problem here. Just like we did with broadsword and arming sword, Viking just means Scandinavian people in today's language. Even if that's not accurate to what it meant before, it doesn't present any misinformation because a Viking was a Scandinavian raider, and when we say Viking, we think of Scandinavians. We don't think about raiders from Greece. We don't think about raiders from Portugal. We think about Scandinavians, and a Viking was indeed a Scandinavian raider. So it's okay to refer to the Scandinavian people as Vikings, and when you want to make the distinction for an actual Viking, you simply call them a Viking raider. I know I'm repeating myself a lot in this video, guys, but it's just to make sure that my point gets across and really allows you to think about, is this an okay term to use, or is it not? And anyways, I just hope you guys enjoyed this video. Maybe you guys agree with what I had to say, maybe not. Maybe let me know in the comments if you feel that you've got the time. If you enjoyed this video, feel free to hit the like button, and maybe even subscribe. I've got all kinds of content that's always coming out, and surely you'll find some stuff that you enjoy. Anyways, I hope that you guys have a good one, and until then, I will see you guys next time.